Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Chaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jaya Jagannatha, Jagannatha, Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda. 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 Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, not any specific verse, but the topic of cleansing the Gundicha temple, known as Gundicha Marjanam, which I believe is today. So I figured maybe we don't have any verse on the board. Perhaps I can just chant the first verse, and then we can read the summary of the chapter, and then we'll see what comes out. Shri Gundicha Mandiram Atma Vrindai Samarjayan Shalayanta Goraha Swachita Vachitalam Ujvalam Cha Krishna Pavesha Paikam Chakara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed the Gundicha temple with his devotees and associates. In this way, he made it as cool and bright as his own heart, and thus he made the temple a befitting place for Lord Shri Krishna to sit. So I'll just read the chapter summary because it's not long. It's one page. In his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarizes this chapter as follows. The king of Orissa, Maharaj Prataparudra, tried his best to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Nityananda Prabhu and the other devotees informed the Lord about the king's desire, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not agree to see him. At that time, Sri Nityananda Prabhu devised a plan, and he sent a piece of the Lord's outward garment to the king. The next day, when Ramananda Roy again entreated Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see the king, the Lord, denying the request, asked Ramananda Roy to bring the king's son before him. The prince visited the Lord dressed like a Vaishnava and thus awakened remembrance of Krishna. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered the son of Maharaj Prataparudra. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the Gundicha temple before the Ratha Yatra took place. He then took his bath at Indradyumna lake and partook of prasadam in the garden nearby. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the temple of Gundicha, a Gaudiya Vaishnav washed the lotus feet of the Lord and drank the water. This incident is very significant, for it awoke within the devotee ecstatic love. Then the son of Advaita Prabhu, named Gopal, fainted during kirtan, and when he did not come to his senses, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu favored him by awakening him. There was also some humorous talk between Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu during prasadam. Advaita Prabhu said that Nityananda Prabhu was unknown to anyone and that it was not the duty of a householder Brahmana to accept dinner with a person unknown in society. In answer to this humorous statement, Sri Nityananda Prabhu replied that Advaita Acharya was a monist and that one could not know how his mind could be turned by eating with such an impersonalist. The conversation of these two Prabhus, Nityananda and Advaita Prabhu, carried a deep meaning that only an intelligent man can understand. After all the Vaishnavas finished their lunch, Sarup Damoda and others took their prasad within the room. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took great pleasure when he saw the Jagannath deity after the period of the deity's retirement. At that time, Lord Chaitanya was accompanied by all the devotees, and all of them were very pleased. Om Jnana Timidandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Kopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Prananami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Niveshesha Sunyavari Paschati Deshitarini Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare Hare. I'm so honored to be given the opportunity to speak on this topic of Gundicha Marjana. It's actually so many, in this chapter, so many different subject matters are covered, actually. And just on the topic of the cleansing of the Gundicha temple, so many different symbols and meanings can be extracted from this. So I will do my best to speak, but I think this topic you can speak for many days, actually. So let's see. I would just like to offer my respects to my beloved spiritual master, to our beloved Srila Prabhupada and all of our Guru Vagya, and seek blessings from the Vaishnavas. My Dandavat Pranams. I think before I jump into the topic of the cleansing of the temple, I just wanted to touch a little bit on the Rath Yatra, a little bit. Not so much the specifics and the pastimes. I think maybe leading up to today, we've been hearing many pastimes of Rath Yatra. But it's interesting for me because when I first met the devotees and I saw this Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra, for me it's like the perfect, I mean, I don't come from a religious background per se, but it's the perfect like idol worship. You know, you see this little wooden, and it's like, oh, what's, you know, I mean, and as we go on in Krishna consciousness and you develop a relationship with them and you begin to understand and you hear the pastimes, it becomes very beautiful and wonderful. I'm not sure if these days you're hearing, but I mean, there's so many histories, like you can go way back and so many different pastimes of like why Jagannath is like this and why the Rath Yatra is, you know, the meanings behind it. But in kind of like one of the original stories of Jagannath, actually these deities, when they were being carved, were not completed. Actually, we see them in, it's almost like an incomplete form. However, we understand that this is the desire of Krishna to manifest in this form. And these days I was thinking about it, but why, you know, and I was thinking maybe it's because how you can capture this form of Jagannath, of Baladev and Subhadra, how you can make a murti out of this form of Jagannath, because the pastime is so wonderful, actually. Like, okay, we have the original story, which is many details, and I don't remember all the names, but like how the deities originally came. Originally, they're eternal, of course, but how they originally came in this world and how they were being carved. But then as we learn more about the Rath Yatra, we also understand like the deep moods that Jagannath is experiencing, and how, you know, we understand is Krishna in ecstasy, but also we understand that it's Krishna in deep separation also. Separation from Vrindavan. There's this pastime in Kurukshetra. Krishna, he's Dwarkadish now, he's, you know, so many queens, but then by divine arrangement there's a solar eclipse, and they all, the Brajvasis as well, everyone, they assemble in Kurukshetra, and there Krishna and Radharani, they actually meet. Krishna and the Brajvasis, they all meet after a very long time. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he comments that actually this is, and I believe there's a prayer of Bhaktivinoda Thakur where he's praying to be given this opportunity of service in this situation where you see like Radha and Krishna, finally they're united again, but actually because Krishna is Dwarkadish and the situation, they're so close, but actually they're not able to be connected. And then we read when Lord Chaitanya is dancing in the Rath Yatra, he sings this kind of like mundane love song, like, oh, I wish we could go back to, you know, how it was before. And only Rupa Goswami was able to understand the mood of Lord Chaitanya, that actually, like, this is the intense separation, that they're so close together, but actually they're so far. And this is one of the forms of Jagannath in this Kurukshetra, that he's this mood of separation. So there's many stories there, which we're not going to focus on today, but the reason I brought it up is because it was kind of my, like, meditation. Like, the reason that Jagannath wanted to be manifested as incomplete is because how can you capture these moods in a murti form? In this way, he's there for us, and we can kind of appreciate and relish and understand. Anyway, these are my sentiments I'm sharing. But the reason I brought up the idolatry is because Jagannath is Jaga, the universe, Nath, the Lord of the universe. So Jagannath, he's the Lord of all. He's the Lord of all peoples, of all religions, all. He's the Lord of all. But then, because of the nature of the way that the teachings have been transmitted, and, you know, forms of the Lord have been forbidden to worship for whatever reasons, we can have a whole class about that. But therefore, people are not understanding that this is their Lord. Even, you know, okay, putting like atheistic people aside, people who are religious or seeking God, in other traditions, or even within like Hindu tradition, they don't understand, like, here is Supreme Personality of Godhead, here is Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, your Lord of the universe. And sometimes it's funny on Rath Yatra, people will ask, like, who is this? And you say, oh, this is God. But there's three of them, you know. Well, okay, it's his sister and his brother, and it's a little bit hard to explain. But this is the wonderful thing about bhakti. There's so many nuances based on rasa, based on relationship, that get revealed in the association of devotees over time. But in the same way that we have like one moon in the sky, and then, you know, every day this moon is becoming bigger or smaller with the waxing and the waning. And if someone doesn't have information, if they don't have knowledge, they may look at the moon and think, oh, there's, you know, 14 different moons, or 30, I don't know. But actually, one who knows, they understand it's one moon just manifesting in different ways. So similarly, God is unlimited. He has unlimited pastimes and activities and forms, and He's manifesting in these different ways. And therefore, like, you know, other spiritual traditions, they may have, you know, this part of the moon, this part of the moon, this part of the moon, but it's all the one moon. And therefore, we are very grateful that somehow or other we've come into this understanding of the full moon of Lord Jagannath. And we can also reconcile the seeming contradictions in different spiritual traditions to understand, like, yes, they're also worshipping our Jagannath. So that was a little side point. This chapter, it begins, and I don't know if it's specifically connected to the Gundicha Marjanam, because there's a lot in this chapter, but it begins with the desire of King Prataparudra to meet Lord Chaitanya. And this is a really interesting pastime to kind of think about, because he's a pure devotee. He's a great devotee. But Lord Chaitanya refuses to meet him. And you can imagine, like, that must really be unpleasant. You know, here's Lord Chaitanya, who, because you're a bhakta, you understand, here is your Supreme Lord, here is your Radha and Krishna, here is your Jagannath, come. And he's performing pastimes. But I'm not able to go and meet Lord Chaitanya. This is too much. And then King Prataparudra, he gets to the point where he's like, man, forget it. I'm going to give up this being a king. Because I'm a king, I cannot meet with Lord Chaitanya. Which is interesting. Lord Chaitanya, I believe it's in... He gives this point. He's like, you may have like a pot of milk, right? And it's like really pure and wonderful. But if there's like one drop of poison, then this milk you cannot take. So similarly, King Prataparudra, he's a pure Vaishnava. But because he has this abhiman that I am the king, or because he's given this position, or he has accepted this position that I am the king, therefore this is the poison, and as a sannyasi I cannot meet. And there's a lot of things to kind of try to analyze and digest in this pastime. Because Lord Chaitanya, he's so strict in this dharma of being a sannyasi, actually. He's so strict to the point where he won't meet his devotee in the name of like maintaining a social status and maintaining the proper etiquette of a sannyasi. Like a sannyasi doesn't want to associate with any worldly people, they're completely renounced. And I was thinking, you know, then you see, like, you have Lord Chaitanya and then the Goswamis, and then our line coming to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and then when we come to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, we see this kind of shift in the mood of Krishna consciousness, in the sense that it goes more from like a renounced situation to really like emphasizing this Yukta Vairagya. And we see like our Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada gave himself sannyas through a picture of his spiritual master, which already is, you know, Acharya. And then he's more in the mood of using everything in the service of Krishna. Like if some king will come, he will take them and he will engage them, and he will use them as a service, engage them in the service of Krishna without any, you know, he had no... So then how to understand, in one sense it seemed like a contradiction. And I also don't have an answer for this, you can think about it. But I was thinking that, you know, Lord Chaitanya, he's like setting the standard. This is the principle, this is the teachings. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he's able to then, how to say, on this principle, another principle of Yukta Vairagya, able to somehow maintain the dharma of a sannyas, but at the same time, like for the higher principle of spreading Krishna consciousness throughout the world, he's able to, you know, engage. He was happy to meet anyone and all kinds of wealthy and people to engage them in Lord Chaitanya's mission of spreading Krishna consciousness. So these are just some interesting points to think about and meditate. I don't necessarily have like an answer to this. So the chapter starts like that, and then Lord Chaitanya, because of the mercy of Nityananda, okay, so this is the intelligence of King Prataparudra, right? So he understands he cannot go directly to Lord Chaitanya. So what does he do? He goes to the devotees. And this is also our position. We cannot directly go to Krishna. We go through the devotees. We go through the Guru, through the spiritual master. And Nityananda, who's, you know, the original spiritual master, Adi Guru, Balaram Nitai, Nityananda is the original spiritual master, and he comes up with this, you know, kind of reconciliation in one sense, like, hey, they understand Lord Chaitanya is very, you know, doesn't want to be disturbed. He's having this pastime of being a sannyasi, and he's very, you know. So he says, give some of your Mahaprasad to the king and he will be a little bit satisfied. So he gives some cloth, and the king is very happy and he worships it as if as if Lord Chaitanya has personally come. But then, because of these kind of loving exchanges and nuances in the relationships of the devotees, Nityananda, he comes up with this really intelligent... Lord Chaitanya suggests, send the son of the king, because, you know, the son is the representative of the father. And as we read in this introduction, the boy, he comes dressed as a Vaishnava, which, you know, awakens all these sentiments in Lord Chaitanya, and he delivers the son of King Prataparudra, and that's considered to be delivering the king. So it's really interesting, and it's just a nice point about how, you know, the intelligence of the devotees, okay, we cannot approach Krishna directly, but through the devotees, through the spiritual master, we can get the mercy of the Lord. So then Mahaprabhu, he has this desire. He calls Swarup Damoda, and he calls I don't know how to say, like the temple commander of the Gundicha temple, and expresses this desire to make this service. And my understanding is, like, before Lord Chaitanya, the Rath Yatra was happening like forever, like many, many, many years. But prior to Lord Chaitanya, it was more organized by the king of Orissa, and also this cleansing of the Gundicha temple. It also happened, but it was, you know, organized by the king. It's like usually, I don't know in Switzerland, but usually in countries, things organized by the government, they don't operate as efficiently as things that are privately run. So similarly, these people, they were coming and cleaning the temple, but they were paid. They didn't necessarily have devotional feelings, and therefore the job was not done to the standard that it could. So Lord Chaitanya had this desire to cleanse the Gundicha temple. And there's some interesting points about this. Generally, like the Jagannath temple itself is representing Dwarka, whereas the Gundicha temple is representing Vrindavan. So therefore we can appreciate Mahaprabhu's enthusiasm to serve Vrindavan, serve the Gundicha temple. And there's an interesting conversation. It's during Hira Panchami, which is basically, Jagannath, he's leaving his temple and he's staying extended period of time. Anyway, there's a conversation between Swarup Damodar and Srivas Thakur. So Srivas, he's, we understand how to say, like, Narada Muni is coming, Srivas. And Narada Muni, he's like devotee of Vishnu. Aishwarya, you can say. So there's this kind of beautiful exchange between these two personalities where, at the Gundicha temple, Swarup Damodar, he began to glorify Vrindavan a little bit. But then Srivas, he's, what is your Vrindavan? It's just flowers and cows and, some beautiful nature, some forest. But in Vaikuntha, we have palace, so much opulence, so much wealth, so much facility, unlimited Lakshmis. But then Swarup Damodar explained that actually, this one little grain of sand in Braj is Chintamani. That all these cows, the wish-fulfilling cows, all these trees, Kamadhenu, all these trees, Kalpavriksha. So actually, all the opulence of Vaikuntha, it doesn't even add up to one drop of the opulence in Vrindavan. So, which is an interesting point, because the thing about Vrindavan, the unique thing about Vrindavan is this, the sweetness, Madhurya. That's the attraction for the devotees, the sweetness of the relationships of the Brajbasis, where the unlimited, infinite, supreme Lord comes so close to the finite jiva that the jiva, he doesn't even understand, this is my Lord. He thinks, this is my master, this is my friend, this is my child, this is my lover, like this. So that's the unique thing about Braj. And I heard one analogy where, there's so much Aishwarya in Braj, but like, for example, if you take a cup of water and you put some salt and you drink, it will taste very salty. But if you take one like huge bag of salt and you throw it in the Ganga and you go a little bit down and you drink, you won't taste the salt. So this salt is the Aishwarya. And this analogy of the Ganga is like Vrindavan. Like, there's a lot of Aishwarya in Vrindavan, but there's so much sweetness that the people, they don't taste the Aishwarya. I mean, Krishna, he lifts Govardhan hill, right? And holds Govardhan on his finger 7 days. He's Aishwarya, He's one small child, he's holding Govardhan hill so many days. But no, the Brajbasis are thinking like, oh, this is Vishnu manifesting through this child, or no, this is Nanda Baba and his friends. They themselves are holding the, or this Shakti is coming through, This is the wonderful thing about Vrindavan, that they don't see Krishna as God. It's not, they don't have this capacity. They have so much love. And actually Krishna relishes this. Krishna relishes this mood of Vrindavan, and that's the very unique offering of Mahaprabhu and the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, this Braj mood. it existed before, but we see Lord Chaitanya and our Acharyas Srila Prabhupada, they really like opened this Braj conception. So Gundicha Marjanam is such a wonderful pastime because there's so much symbolism there. And this is the wonderful thing about this Krishna consciousness and this Lord Chaitanya, how he operates, that, okay, he really went and cleaned the temple, but actually there's so many different meanings we can extract from the temple. So, kind of as an overall principle, and we'll read, and there's one purport I'll find in a minute, where it's talking about how actually, and I think we just read it here, but anyway, like this pastime is showing how to invite Krishna to come and sit in your heart, which if we think a little bit is the Ratha Yatra principle, actually, you know, trying to get Krishna to come and sit on your heart. So we see, when we read CC, we hear that the devotees, they clean the temple twice. So we can understand, you know, we should be clean externally and internally. But also if you read, they clean it twice, and then also they come with big buckets of water, and again they're washing. So it's actually 3 times they're cleaning. Maybe body, words, subtle body. I know, you can extract meanings from the pastime. But, and I was also thinking, you know, like, there's even the first time they're cleaning, they're taking like all the big, you know, straw and rocks and things like this, and then the second time they're cleaning, they're taking like small, you know, sand and things like this, and then finally they're polishing with, you know, water and a whole thing, and they really put a lot. And actually there's a very beautiful purport where Srila Prabhupada is explaining like what each of these means symbolically, like the big and then the small and then the smaller ones. I think it's good if I find it. And then I want to link it to some verses from the Nectar of Instruction. Because the principle here in this pastime is Lord Chaitanya is teaching us like what is required for Krishna to come. If we're aspiring for Krishna in Vrindavan, which is symbolic for the Gundicha temple, how much attention to detail and refinement is required if we want Krishna to come and sit in our heart? And the answer is a lot. And actually, the point is, if you have impurities in the heart, Krishna cannot come. Like, you know, this temple, Jagannath will come and sit. So therefore they're cleaning it so nicely. And similarly, we want Jagannath to come and sit. We want Krishna to come and sit in our heart. So if there's rocks, or maybe, you know, we've gotten rid of some of the more gross anartas, unwanted things. Arta means wealth, so anarta means the opposite, things we don't want. So, okay, maybe we've gotten rid of the bigger things, but what about the smaller things? You know, the dust and more finer, more subtle anartas, like this desire. You know, we may very, very strictly follow externally all rules and regulations, attending all the, you know, temple programs, or following everything very, very nicely externally. But what is the things going on within? And we'll get to this in this pastime that, you know, Prabhupada is explaining, like the more subtle anartas, the desires for, you know, name and fame or position. Like, we may be practicing Krishna consciousness very strictly, but we need to be introspective and authentic and honest with ourselves. Like, what is it that we're aspiring for? Like, we may know, even in our heart of hearts, we're aspiring for Krishna Prem, we're aspiring for Krishna in Vrindavan, for this service of Braj. But then, do we also have desire for some position, for some name, for some fame, whatever? Shishi Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai, Shishi Kornitai ki jai. So this pastime is emphasizing these. And I will, because it's nice to hear from Prabhupada, I just need to find a verse. If you give me a sec. And then if someone has if they want to look it up, I'll tell you in a second. So there's, in this chapter, it's 135. So it's Madhya Lila, chapter 12, text 135. And here Prabhupada, he explained the symbolism of this. It's a really long purport, so I'll try to go to the specific points. What time do you usually finish class? 8:30. That's including questions? Okay, I'll go quick. Today's festival, yeah. Okay. Because only now we're starting the Gundicha Marjanam. There was so much things before, sorry. Got too excited. Okay, so E mata puradvara age patayata shakala shadila tahe ke vanibe kata. Outside the gateway of the temple, all the roads were also cleaned, and no one could tell exactly how this was done. So it's not only that they clean inside. It's funny because they dump everything outside. And Lalita and I were joking, like, oh, so it's Lord Chaitanya is the one who like started this like throwing stuff on the road, you know, and then all the Indians, they like follow. So wherever you go in India, you always get like from the balcony rubbish. So it's like, oh, it was Gauranga, he did it. But no, then they actually went and cleaned. So it's not just outside, they cleaned, not just inside, they cleaned outside as well. Anyway, sorry, I'll get to the point. But the beautiful part about, and I highly recommend this purport to go and read when you can today. It's packed with just nectar, basically. It's really interesting. It's 3 pages long. But I wanted to find specifically where Srila Prabhupada is talking about, you know, the bigger dirt, the smaller dirt, and the lesser dirt. If a devotee at all wants to cleanse his heart, he must chant and hear the glories of Lord Sri Krishna. Srinvata Swakata Krishna. This is a simple process. Krishna himself will help cleanse the heart, as Mahaprabhu is helping cleanse the Gundicha Marjanam. And also we see, like, when all the devotees, they collecting dust, Mahaprabhu's pile was bigger than all the other devotees put together. And also, we see in this pastime of Damoda, when Mother Yashoda, she's chasing, and somehow by her love, Krishna agreed to be captured and bound. But every time she tries to bind Krishna, she's always 2 fingers too short, right? And we understand it's our endeavor and Krishna's mercy, and the larger finger is considered to be Krishna's mercy. So this is the same point, Srinvata Swakata Krishna, that, you know, Krishna himself will come and cleanse the heart. And there's also so many things popping in my head. There's a verse like this in Bhagavatam. I cannot remember exactly the Sanskrit right now, but it's talking about, like, you know, when you glorify Krishna, he himself comes, and that association is purifying. And also, there's another nice verse. Hridrogam ashpataino atirena diraha. I don't remember the first part, but it's from this Raslila pastime, describing how, you know, by hearing these pastimes of Krishna and the Brajbasis, this is actually cleansing the heart and removing lust from the heart. And the explanation is given that it's not that, you know, first we are pure and then we like associate with these pastimes. It's by hearing from the proper source that this cleansing process will take place. So similarly, here Prabhupada is emphasizing how Krishna himself will help. This is the wonderful thing. Like, of course, we don't want to take anything from Krishna. We want to give to Krishna. But Mahaprabhu is so kind, Jagannath is so kind, that just by our sincere endeavor, actually the large cleansing process will take place by the Lord's grace. Okay, and here Prabhupada is saying that Krishna wants to continue living within the heart, and the Lord wants to give directions, but one has to keep his heart as clean as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept the Gundicha temple. If the heart is filled with straw, grains of sand, weeds, or dust, Anyabilashita Purna, one cannot enthrone the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead there. And we go into Srila Rupa Goswami's verse, Anyabilashita Shunyam, which I would definitely want to speak about, but I'm just a little bit... I want to find this part specifically. Prabhupada breaks down each... the symbolism of each dirt. But I feel like pressured to find it, you know. Perhaps I can just encourage all of you to read the purport. But the principle is, it's like, you know, the gross anarthas down to the subtle. So in the beginning they're cleaning the larger dirts, and then the second time it's more refined. And this is the from the gross anarthas to the subtle. And then I thought it's nice we can touch on very quickly Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Upadeshamrita, Nectar of Instruction. The first few verses, like the first 3, 4, it's really very relevant to this topic. So let me just look it up really fast. Nectar of Instruction. So the first verse. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So here Rupa Goswami is describing, identifying the pitfalls, the challenges that we face, these bits of dirt and dust and rocks and stones that need to be cleansed from the temple of our heart. The urge to speak, and again, it's so nice if we read these purports, but the urge to speak, you know, the tongue, saying different things. Even, I believe that Kunti Devi, she said to Duryodhan something along the lines, or if it wasn't, anyway, something along the lines of, you know, like, your father is blind, and you are also blind, you know, spiritually blind, because you're making these bad decisions. But because of this insult, we see so many things, and the Battle of Kuru, etc. So, and also we see Sita Devi, Lakshman, he put one circle around her, and she chastised him. The pastime is there that, you know, this and that, and as a result, he went away, and Ravana came and was able to convince her and kidnap her. And the reason I bring it up is because, like, these are our worshipable personalities, but by their example, we can see, like, the tongue, you know, sound is such a powerful thing where sometimes we say something, it can... I was reading a little bit yesterday, if you, maybe, I don't know how familiar you are, but there's this Raghunath from Wisdom of the Sages, Raghunath and Kaustubha. So Raghunath, he wrote a book, and in this book he was talking about how he was living with someone, and then he spoke to another friend about this person. They said really nasty things, and it like completely ruined the relationship. And maybe we've had this experience before where we just say something and then it just, we hate this person or they hate us, and it's, so the tongue is a very difficult, you know, our speech has to be controlled. And the tongue, you know, we want to taste so many things, but this is the wonderful thing. Rishikesha Rishikena Sevinam Bhakti Uchite, that, you know, by engaging our senses in the service of the master of the senses, or like, you know, by experiencing a higher taste, this is how we can purify our senses. This is how we can purify our tongue, by glorifying Krishna, by associating with devotees and talking about Krishna, and, you know, by tasting Krishna Prasadam. And similarly, like all of our senses and engagements, like using them in the process of Krishna consciousness, it's not that, you know, we have desires and things and then somehow we try to connect it to Krishna. It's more through the process of like engaging in devotional service, Prahlad Maharaj is giving Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. And Shastra is giving each of these limbs of bhakti, there's like a personality who perfected each one. Shravanam is easy. Someone can say the example? Easy, right? He heard Bhagavatam so many days. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Shukadev Goswami. Smaranam, I guess, is Prahlad Maharaj. He's always like, meditating on Vishnu. He's getting like trampled by elephants, thrown off a cliff, boiled in oil, put in fire. And the whole time he's meditating on his Lord. Anyway, we can go through so many things, but it's nice to discuss these points. Yeah, so many different processes are there for us to connect, and this connection to Krishna will cleanse the heart. It will purify us. It's a positive process. It's a process that allows us to be, without having to like run off to the forest and give up our lives. Through action, positive action, our senses become purified and we begin to experience a higher taste. And the ultimate goal is love for God, Krishna Prem. But the thing is, if we have these impurities in our heart, this is the whole point of this pastime, if we have these gross or subtle impurities within our heart, if we're not controlling our speech, if we are, acting on our anger, I mean, there's a place, of course, we read the purport, we understand. But the thing is, like, these Bahu Janma Kariyari Shravana Kirtana Tabhutana Pai Krishna Pada Premadana, like, you can be practicing Krishna consciousness for millions of births and it won't work, because at the same time you're cleaning, with one hand you're again throwing dust. Prabhupada gives the analogy of the elephant, right? He can clean so nicely, but when he goes on the bank he throws this dust. And then again, we were in Nairobi in Kenya, and we went to Mombasa, and it's like you catch a train through the national park. And just a little, like, maybe Gramya Katha, a little side point, like when they were building this train line, like however many 100 years ago, like more than 100 of these builders got eaten by lions or tigers when they were building this thing, like dragged out of their tents and eaten. Like, it's really national park. But we were on the train with Harinamananda, and I saw with my own eyes one elephant going in the water, coming out and throwing dust. So it's a real thing. So similarly, we should be very conscious of this. Like, what are we cultivating? What's in our heart? And it's like, it's maybe okay and natural to have these material desires, but we need to be able to like identify and like reveal to Krishna, reveal to like, there's also nectar of instruction with Goyama Kati Prakshiti, like revealing the mind in confidence. Like, there is a process for identifying and becoming aware and then dealing with it. And not that we need to like, chant our japa like, oh man, I want to be famous, like da, da, da. It's also not like necessarily so healthy. But the thing is, like, we need to become aware of this anarthas. And in the CC and in these purports and in this nectar of instruction, like so many times, Prabhupada is very specifically, like our acharyas, our shastra is very specifically identifying these larger and smaller, gross and subtle anarthas. And I wish I had prepared better and had more time, and we can go through all of them so very nicely. But let's just finish this nectar of instruction because it's very relevant. The urge of the tongue, the belly, the genitals, we understood. And then one's devotion, so this is also the second verse of nectar of instruction, very relevant to us, that one's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes entangled, like eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Which I found very interesting when I read this, about how like somehow overeating and like getting money is like similar. I found it very interesting. But yeah, it's like many times we kind of know when it's enough, but still desire for more, desire for enjoying. Anyway, this is over-endeavoring for mundane things. that are very difficult to obtain. I wonder if sending a rocket to Mars is included in this. Talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. There's beautiful instructions given by Lord Chaitanya to, I believe, Rupa Goswami. He's talking, you shouldn't dress very opulently, you shouldn't eat very palatable foods. It's a nice verse. And maybe it's not specifically for us, I don't know. I mean, he's in renounced order of life. Maybe some details is there, but still it's nice principles to try to appreciate and understand. Sorry, if anyone need to go, I don't get offended, and I'll try to finish quick, but I guess it's time to finish. Practicing the scripture rules and regulations only for the sake of following them. This one really make a punch for me. I think it's a nice point. But then the flip side is rejecting the rules and regulations, or working whimsically or independently. I think it's really important we don't invent some philosophy to justify our nonsense. Like if for some reason we're not able to follow, or rules and regulations are there, but if we're not able to, for whatever reason, it's very dangerous to make some philosophy out of it. Like, oh, I'm doing this because I need this. Like, no, we should be authentic and just understand we're in a fallen position. It's a much healthier situation to be in for your bhakti. Once you start, trying to invent some philosophy to justify, then you're entering into murky waters, and then it's hard to deal with Krishna and Guru and the Vaishnavas directly. You have to deal more with Krishna's external energy, and you're entering into the world of karma. Associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, and being greedy for mundane achievements. So just some principles, I'm trying to identify, we spoke about the symbolism of the cleansing of the temple, and now we're just trying to bring to the surface, what are we actually cleansing? Identifying, what are the things that we need to work on, and it's all throughout our shastra, and it's very clear. And therefore, I was hearing recently about this state of existence called shakshitva, which basically means a state of witnessness. Basically, this is a state of consciousness which is favorable for practicing bhakti, in the sense that we understand we are not doing, we are all these things are happening, our senses, this and that, but we are the soul within the body. And the idea is to be for example, if I'm making kirtan and I'm thinking oh, everybody look at me, I want to be so beautiful, I want to sing so nice and this and that. This is not a state of shakshitva, and then bhakti cannot really manifest in this state. Bhakti cannot really enter into this state because it's very much I and mine, ahamameti, and false ego, and it's not. Whereas if we're in a state of shakshitva, a state of witnesshood, it's basically understanding I'm a spirit soul, I'm a servant of Krishna, and then trying to be away from this desire for the name and fame and recognition, and
What do you call it?
Shakshitva, Shakshi Gopal, the witness, Shakshitva. It could be from one of the Yoga Sutras, because I was listening to a class and it was very anyway, whatever. We can speak about it later. Yeah, okay, I just want to finish. I'm so sorry, please forgive me. I'll just read one more verse from Nectar of Instruction, then I'll wrap it up. So 6, favorable. So this is now, okay, I guess maybe cleaning is going on, and one thing that just popped in my head, when we read the pastime, when they're cleaning, all the devotees, they're chanting, and Hare Krishna, and chanting, and it gets to the point where if they need something, if they need water, or they need a broom, or they need, then instead of communicating, they just go Hare Krishna, Radhesham, Jai Jagannath, and somehow they're all in the Krishna flow, and they're able to communicate just like this. And I think it's so true point, here in the temple, devotees that are living here, maybe, you're kind of really in the Krishna energy, but still the same principle applies. But, especially for devotees living outside, or when they have their lives, or if they have work or jobs or whatever, pretty much the principle here is to always chant and always be Krishna conscious. And you may be cleaning your dishes, but you can be singing for Krishna. And this is what's going on in Gundicha temple, and you know, trying to connect everything to Krishna and be everything all together, always Krishna conscious, always. So favorable things. Cleaning is going on. We've identified some of the things we need to remove, but then being enthusiastic, Jai Haribol, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to the regulative principles, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, abandoning the association of non-devotees, and following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. The text 4 is also very beautiful, and it's all very beautiful. But I guess to wrap it up, I just wanted to focus on one principle that we can take away that has been very nicely given to us by Lord Chaitanya in Shikshastakam. So, you know, this is the Gundicha Marjanam. So when you hear Marjanam, you also hear Chito Dharpana Marjanam, cleansing the consciousness. So this is the principle. This is the like external but also internal manifestation of this principle, this cleansing of the Gundicha temple. But one verse, which is a nice way to wrap this up. Trinadapi sunichana, torodapi sahishana, amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadahari. So if we can keep this verse close to us, I do feel like this is the kind of principle of the Gundicha Marjana. And one thing that I would want to go into, but is so late now, is this verse of Rupa Goswami, Anyabhilashita Shunyam, this description of like what is pure bhakti. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he gives a commentary on this in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu, I believe, and where he breaks down like the intrinsic and extrinsic characteristics of bhakti, like what is to be accepted and what is to be rejected. And then he gives examples of like, you know, for example, like so one of the most important things in pure devotion is to do it in the mood that's favorable for Krishna, like in the mood of like wanting to please and give pleasure to Krishna. So you see Chanura and Mustika, when they're fighting with Krishna, the wrestlers, when Krishna come in the arena, they come and they fight with Krishna, and he has so much fun. He loves it. Krishna's having a blast. It's exciting for him, and they're fighting. So they gave pleasure to Krishna. Are they doing bhakti? They're not doing bhakti. Why? They want to kill Krishna. It's not bhakti. So to say like, oh, but they're doing in a mood that's favorable, this is what Rupa Goswami is saying, this is bhakti. But no, this is an overextension of the definition of bhakti. And also, he also gave the example of Mother Yashoda. So when just before the Damodar pastime, when the milk starts to overflow, because, you know, in the spiritual world, everyone is a personality, right? So the milk see Krishna breastfeeding from Mother Yashoda, this milk think, oh, I don't have any service, I have no use, let me die, I'll jump in the fire. So the milk start to boil over and he's going in the fire. Mother Yashoda, she put down Krishna and she run to save this milk. And then Krishna, he's so angry, actually, like, how could you do that? You know. And then this whole pastime takes place. So Mother Yashoda, she did something that was not pleasing to Krishna. So it's not bhakti. But this would be an under-extension. No, it is bhakti. Why? Because she's doing everything for Krishna's pleasure. And this is the vision of the devotee, that also they're giving more importance to the devotees and to the like paraphernalia. Paraphernalia is a little bit stretching, like not in the impersonal sense, but they're giving so much stress to like the personalities and the devotees that are serving Krishna more so than Krishna himself. And Krishna also teaches this, that one who says they're my devotee, they're not my devotee, but the devotee of my devotee is my devotee. So we can see that principle manifesting there. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. With this Trinadapi Sunichana, this is a verse we can take away so that we can cleanse our hearts so that Krishna will come. And one just point that jumped in my head, like for this, one should chant the holy name in a humble state of mind. Because obviously chanting is, you know, the Cheto Dharpana Marjana, but thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. So how is it possible, like, practically, to be lower than the straw in the street? Does it mean you just get stepped on? But you see, this straw in the street is going according to the will of God. It moves in the wind. It just does its dharma. It just exists dharmically, constitutionally as a piece of grass. Whereas us, we go against our dharma, we do adharma. Maybe not you guys, but anyway. But so to be lower than the straw in the street is not some symbolic, it's just the reality of our position. We just are already, by not doing our Jaiva Dharma of purely loving and serving Krishna. So just a little side point. Chinada Pisunichana. Take this verse, can meditate, and yeah, so many beautiful things. Like I said at the beginning, you can spend like many days on this chapter, and we didn't even go to the end where the beautiful loving relationships between Nityananda and Advaita Acharya. But I will finish because I already went over. I mean, if anybody want to ask or add something, and if anyone need to go, please go. I don't mind. You have service, it's temple, I understand. Let me drink
something. Yes, thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu. I just found here the three items of dirt, like smaller and bigger. So small. If you want to say something about it, with your expertise.
You know, when I was reading it recently, it was like so clear, and then today when I was in front of everyone, I was like, oh, I can't find it. Please.
I'm not sure if this is exactly what you, but yeah. So material desire, which in modern language is called economic development.
Yeah.
An inordinate desire for economic development is considered to be like straws within the heart. If one is overly engaged in material activity, the heart always remains disturbed. Then impersonal speculation, monism, which means merging into the existence of the Supreme. Speculative knowledge, mystic yoga and meditation are all compared to grains of sand. They simply cause irritation to the heart. And finally, modernized material benefits are like the dust of material contamination. When this dust is agitated by the whirlwind of fruitive activity, it overcomes the heart.
Yeah, it's so wonderful, like how, you know, these things are happening, and then our acharyas, they arrange it in such a way with like very beautiful instructions that are very practical for us. And also in this Prabhupada talks about how, like, you know, this, and I kind of touched on it when I spoke, but these, you know, straws in the heart and all these things, like they lead to, he says two things, like one is wanting to be an incarnation, like, you know, so many God men in this world, so many incarnations, right? People become God or whatever. And then the other one was something about pratishtha, like just wanting to have a position and be glorified. This is a really tricky anartha to deal with, because we can be doing super nice service. You can give class and kirtan and do everything and be a great devotee, and then everyone loves you and you're wonderful, but then pride creeps in, and I have seen it, I'm experiencing, living it, but I've also seen it, you know, it's yeah, we should be really introspective and honest. Not that we meditate on our anarthas, I don't think that's healthy. I think the process of Krishna consciousness, like the process of Krishna consciousness will cleanse. We don't need to like, I want to be the king, like, but still it's good to identify, like read Shastra, there's a really nice verse, I'll finish the class and then I'll look it up and I'll share it, where in CC and Prabhupada give the translation, it's really identifying these anarthas. So it's just, we should be aware, if they come up, we should identify, and we should avoid, yeah, please. Maybe I can look it up now.
Hare Krishna, Urugaya Prabhu, nice, very, very wonderful class, very inspiring. Finally I get to hear you again, even though we were together very recently in Bologna. But yeah, I mean, I really, really like this point on introspection, and I think it's very relevant because it's so easy to get caught up, especially if you're intellectual or a little philosophically inclined, and you do well, and yeah, and you might get along very easily with the seniors or those who are more advanced, and you get appreciated. It's very easy to...
So many lifetimes you're practicing Krishna consciousness, Prabhu.
Right. So Yeah, introspection is a very good point, but I guess in the Western world, yeah, you mentioned just now, we have this idea, oh, I sit by myself in my room and I write down whatever I think I have in heart or what's going on. But I guess the point that you mentioned, yeah, it's not really we do that on our own, I guess, but we do it as a fourth or third, Guyam, like revealing our mind and hearing from our Vaishnava peers and associate. That's I mean, in my experience, but also I guess from Nectar of Instruction, it's very powerful and it allows you to introspect. It's like the Vaishnava, your friend, or your mentor. It's like a mirror to your heart, and by associating with them, you can realize that there's some pride, or there's still some anarthas. Yeah, and what's good about it is that you don't really get the feeling of guilt, which might be present, in some lower stage of bhakti, or some kanista dikari say, oh no, I'm so fallen and I feel guilty, I become depressed. It's actually it's inspiring. You realize that you have anarthas, but you're still inspired to go on and to try better and to clean more.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anyway, wonderful class, Prabhu. Very, very,
just
very
on
inspiring.
This point, it's really powerful, actually. Like this Goyamati Prakshiti, like revealing the mind in confidence, is super powerful. And like just a side, like last maybe 2 months, I've been attending. I don't know how new it is. Maybe some years it's been going. One lady called Jiva. It's called Bhakti Recovery Group, and basically it's like, when I first heard about it, I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. Like, but then I actually started going in Mayapur, attending physically the meetings, and then in Italy I went, and then they're doing online, but hey, whatever. Basically, they took like this 12-step program from AA, and then they like Krishnized it. But just I have personally experienced like coming together in small groups and creating a safe space, confidential space, safe space to open up and share. Like the things that come out is really like, you have things inside that you don't really, it's there, but you don't really know how to speak it. And in that environment, when you get it out, it's really powerful. And I think like part of the reason I'm attending is because like I see that it can work for devotees to have this like safe environments to open up. It really helped with identifying these things and feeling better, and I do, this principle given by Rupa Goswami of revealing the mind in confidence. Like, it's not that we go and broadcast our anarthas to the whole devotee community, but if we have intimate sanghas where we feel safe to reveal our hearts and minds, it works. Like, and I think it would help with this cleansing of the temple of our heart, to feel safe and to I'm struggling with this. And then you see other people also having these difficulties, and then you take strength from each other. So that's just a little side thing, but it's really powerful. It's really important.
If I may add, yeah, because that's what personalism should look like. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we might even be at the temple, living in the temple, but the interactions amongst ourselves are not personal at all. There's no intimate sangha. Yeah. There's no recovery. Bhakti is not recovering you. Yeah. It's not working. It's not happening. So such a good point. Yeah. Such a good point. Thank you.
Yeah, and personalism is our thing. We are very personal. God is like this, Okay, so I guess we should finish. I apologize for taking more of your time, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. And Vanchakapatidubhischa Kripa Sindhubhyavcha Tidnam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha. And if I'm just gonna try to find this verse really.
His Grace Urugaya Prabhu Ki Jai. Thank you, Prabhu, coming all the way from Mayapur just to give this lecture. Not really. Dear devotees, in the morning we've mentioned that there's going to be a Harinam, and now we found out what time, at 10 o'clock. supposed to be the start, so please, who would like to go for Harinam?
If you don't go, you're a demon. Joking.
So 10 o'clock, Eka Chakra Prabhu also, he will be there, and he will bring some flyers. If you can make it a point, if you're not playing Mridanga or whatever, if you have free hands, take some flyers, and whoever you see, pass it out. There will be many people on the road, and it's a nice way to invite them to the festival tomorrow. Gundicha Marchan, thank you for inspiring us for that. And we have the whole day cleaning opportunity.
Jay. Yeah, yesterday my wife Lalita, she was joking like, what we should do for the class, just tell Prabhu to arrange brooms for everyone, and I'll just sit and read CC and everyone can clean.
We have Bhakta Merlin over there. Whoever is inspired to do some cleaning today, he's around the whole day. We just made a big list what should be cleansed, and he can give you all the paraphernalia, the utensils, and he will show you what to do, how to do, and he will be somewhere here in the front, and maybe he's showing somebody the services. Then you can just look for him. Merlin is his name. Haribol Merlin. Okay, then have a nice day. Shri Gundicha Marjana Mahamotsava ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
If anyone's interested, this is just one of the verses I wanted to share about bhakti creepers that are harmful to the bhakti creeper. This is from CC Madhya Lila 19.159. He says, some unnecessary creepers growing with the bhakti creeper are creepers of behavior unacceptable for those trying to obtain perfection. So diplomatic behavior, animal killing, mundane profiteering, mundane adoration, and mundane importance. All these are unwanted creepers. So yeah, there you go. Madhya 19.159. And you can find many verses like this. Okay, Radhesham.
You know what, somewhere in the first canto, if you boil water,
but that's very long process. I'm in the middle of the worship.
just boil water, metal becomes bigger, so you cannot open it.
Does it open like this?
The only way I justify it, downward
but very small.
Mrs. is here? Yeah. I think today maybe we can take you for this program.
Maybe take some
But we're not coming back, we're staying there. We're staying on. We also have because if we go in there, we definitely not come here at this kind of person. We're going to do it? We're staying.
But we stay there.
Yes, we need to be in the yard. What time is it? We start at the... We will stay up there. We'll stay. Cool, okay. Thank you.